So we are starting a new unit today. The unit is about quadratics as well. However, we are looking at different types of quadratics. Remember that when we're talking about quadratics, there's 3 different ways that you can write a quadratic function in. Right? We talked about the vertex form, and we have seen the vertex form in the previous unit. Now, in this unit, we're going to focus more on the factored form and also the combination of the vertex and the standard. Okay? So the factored form is, if you look here, it will be this form right here. So it will be factored. We'll talk about factors and how do we factor and how to go and what is the factor going to tell us more in details as we go through the lesson. Okay? So, a binomial is a polynomial with 2 terms. We talked about this previously. Okay? Binomial has 2 terms. So if you have, let's say, x3, right? That's a binomial. Okay? Because it has 2 terms. Right? 2x minus 7. That's a binomial. Okay? 2 terms again. So whenever we have 2 binomials multiplied together, right? So you see that this is one binomial, and this is another binomial, and they are multiplied together. If you see that bracket and then another bracket, that means they're multiplied. Are you guys okay with that? Okay? So what happens, how can I expand? We call it expand. How can I expand this 2 binomials multiplied together? How can I expand? Which way do I expand? Do you guys know?
Times in the
FOIL. FOIL is one method. Distribution, which is also another method.
like terms.
You're going to have to collect like terms at the end, but you have to do foiling first. So you have to do FOIL or distribution first. So we're going to look at different methods today. Okay? The most used method would be the FOIL. Right?
And is it FOIL?
FOIL. We're going to talk about it in a bit. That would be the most used method, right? Because it's the easiest of all of them. Okay? And it stands for first, outer, inner, last. That's why it's called FOIL. So we're going to talk about it in a bit. The first thing I want to show you is I want to show you this using algebra tiles. So this is basically for people who are more like really hands-on and they can't do anything without having manipulatives, right? So we're gonna look at this video. I'll show you how, they'll show you how to do it with these algebra tiles. How many of you used algebra tiles in high school? You don't remember what that is? Okay. Let me just out of this.
Remember what each tile represents. The large blue square represents positive x squared, the long green bar represents positive x, and the small yellow square represents positive 1. When we turn them over to its red side, it represents its negative component. Negative x squared for the large red square, the long red bar negative x, and the small red square is negative 1. When we do not have colored tiles to use, we can still demonstrate using algebra tiles. We simply shade when we're referring to positive numbers and leave the blocks unshaded when looking at negative numbers. Let's begin. In example 1, we will multiply x plus 4 times 2x plus 1. When using algebra tiles, we start by drawing a T-chart. Along one side of the chart, we fill in the factors x plus 4 using algebra tiles, x, the long green bar, and 4 single units, giving us x plus 4. Across the top, for 2x plus 1, we draw 2 green bars and a single unit. Our product is the result that occurs inside of our chart. When we multiply the terms outside, x times x gives me x squared, x times x, x squared, x times 1, 1x. And we do this for the entire chart until there's no terms or blocks left. 1 times x, x, 1 times x, x, and 1 times 1, which is 1. The bottom three lines are exactly the same as the line we just completed, leaving us x, x, and positive 1 all the way down. The solution are the tiles that remain inside this chart. As we can see here, we have 2x squared blocks, or 2x squared. We have 9 long green bars, or positive 9x, and 4 single units, which represents positive 4, giving us a final solution of 2x squared plus 9x plus 4. Let's try a second example, only this time we'll include a negative number. Once again, we'll draw our T chart. On the left-hand side, we draw x plus 2, and across the top, we want to draw 3x minus 2. 3x, 1, 2, 3x bars. Now careful, with the negative, remember we want to draw the red bars. Multiplying, on the inside, we get x squared, a second x squared, and a third x squared. For the last two, just pay extra attention when you're working with negative signs. We have a positive times a negative, which gives us negative x. Positive x times negative 1, another negative x. Continuing down the line, positive 1 times x, positive x, positive x, positive x. And at the end, we have positive 1 times negative 1, which gives us negative 1 for both of these. The last line is exactly the same as the third. So we get x, 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 and 2 negatives. In our solution in this case, we see that we have 3x squared bars, or 3x squared. When it comes to the x bars, though, we notice that we have 6 positive x's, and we have 2 negative x's over here. When you have positive and negative of the same term, they're referred to as zero pairs, and in fact can be canceled. So we can cancel out this negative x and a positive x. This negative x and this positive x is another zero pair. We are then left with 4 positive x, and we write plus 4x. Our final 4 blocks here gives us negative 4, for a final solution of 3x squared plus 4x minus 4. This completes this lesson. Thanks for listening.
So as you can see, they're using the tiles to find the answer, right? I mean, this is useful for people who are hands-on and who can't see math clearly in just terms. Okay, we're not going to use it unless you really want to use it, right? You guys can do it, you can draw, but I don't see myself using it personally in class. Okay? Now there's another way which is kind of similar but without drawing. It's also using a chart. So you're going to found the chart. So remember that we have this. We have x plus 4 times 2x plus 1. Okay? So in the chart, you're going to put x plus 4. So x right here, plus 4 right here. And then you're going to put 2x right here and plus 1 right here. Okay? So you're splitting your binomial into 2 different rows or 2 different columns. Okay? And then you're going to have to multiply. Alright, so let's multiply this. So when we're multiplying, x times 2x gives me 2x squared. Right? When I multiply x by x, that gives me x squared. Right? And then 1 times 2 is 2. Alright? X times 1 is x. Okay? Or if you want to think about it as 1x, right? It's the same thing. You don't write that one usually. Okay? 4 times 2x, 8x. So you always multiply the number by the number. Okay? 4 times 1? 4. So you see that
would be 4x.
do I have x's here?
Oh.
No, right? So
You have
that's
X
why.
on that one, that's why I asked.
Yeah, but for the last one, I'm multiplying this and this, right? So that's 4 times 1. 4 times 1 is?
4. Okay, well, why would you have X on the top?
On this one?
Yeah.
Because this one is x,
Oh, that was 4.
this one is x times 1. So that's 1x. Okay? So if you look here, these two terms are your like terms, right? There's 1x plus 8x. Yes.
So the 2x squared, you times the 2 by 1?
Man, why is that squared?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
The 2x squared.
Why
Yeah.
is that squared?
X times 2.
Okay.
Makes it 2.
You have 2 times 2x times x, right? So you have 2x times x. So that will be 2, x times x is x squared,
X.
okay? So that's why it's 2x squared. Are you guys okay with this? Alright, so if we're looking at this, your two like terms are 8x and 1x. So the rest is 2x squared plus, what's 1x plus 8x? 9x plus 4. Okay, so that is one method. I don't know what you guys, if you guys like this one, you are free to do this one as well. It takes more work though. Okay? Are you guys good with that? Can I move to the next method? I'll point out the method that I use all the time and we use more often in classes. So the third one is expand using the distributive property. Okay? If you guys remember the distributive property that we learned about earlier is when you multiply the outside by every term inside, right? So we can do that and we can write it this way. So you're going to multiply x by this whole thing. So x by 2x plus 1. And then plus, you're going to multiply 4 by this whole thing. I feel like these methods are more confusing than they are helping. But like last semester or the semester before last, a lot of students like this method because it's visual for them and it's more like, you know. So now here, what I have to do, I have to multiply, distribute. So x times 2x is 2x squared. X times 1 is 1x. Then I have to multiply the 4 by the 2x, so that gives me 8x. And the 4 by the 1, that gives me 1. That gives me 4. So. Okay, now collect like terms. So that is 2x squared plus 9x plus 4. Okay, we call that the distributive property. So we take the first term and multiply it by the second term, as you can see, by the second binomial, right? And then we write the second term with the sign in front of it. So if it's a plus, we write a plus. If it's a minus, we write a minus. And then we multiply it by the binomial, the second binomial. Okay? And then we follow the distributive property. Are you guys okay with this? You'll see that the third one is, the fourth one is the easiest out of all of them, but
So
yeah.
that's 2 squared plus?
That's 2 squared
Oh,
plus 1x.
No, I seen that.
Yeah.
So if there was like 3 or 4 brackets, it wasn't just the 2, it's always the first one times everything else?
You mean if you see this?
Yeah, if there was like more added on, you still use the first.
Right?
Yeah,
Use that.
yeah.
This will get more complicated for you guys. We don't do this here, but technically you have to do this first.
Okay.
And then the answer of this, you're going to have to multiply it by this. But we don't do that here, so you don't have to worry. Okay? Okay, now let's look at the next one. This is the method that's mostly used, okay? It is called the FOIL method, and it comes from the acronym of first, outer, inner, last, okay? So as you can see, and I have your attention here, as you can see, you have to multiply the first term by the first term, okay? Then you multiply the first term again by the last term, so we call them the outer, okay? Then you multiply the two inner terms, which means the second from the second one times the first. And then the last, which means the last term and the last term. Okay? So this means you have to multiply every term by, so this has to be multiplied by both of these terms. This has to be multiplied by both of these terms. So at the end, you're going to have to get 4 terms. Okay? So, let's look at this. Multiply first. Right? First term times the first term. What do I get? 2x squared. You put an equal first. 2x squared. So that's my first. What are my outer? What are my outer two terms? X and 1. Right? So I have to multiply the x times the 1. So what do I get? 1x. Plus 1x. Okay? So, first, outer, inner. What are my inner numbers? 4 and
2x.
2x. What's 4 times 2x?
6x.
No?
8x.
8x.
Oh shit, man.
It doesn't have to be in order, but this is how they teach it so you guys remember. Because you have to do all 4 of them. Which way? That's fine. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And then 4 times the 1, that's your last. So it will be 4. Okay? Do you understand that? Now, look at your like terms. What are my like terms? 1x and 8x. So if I collect them, I'm going to get 9x. When you're adding, you don't square. When you're multiplying is when you square.
So give me just 9x?
Mm-hmm. Plus.
Well, so you're adding after that?
Yes. Because I'm adding 1 plus 8. Brian, what part don't you understand? The whole thing? Okay. So, you have to look at it this way.
What way are we going to be using it?
This way.
This way?
Yeah. This is the easiest out of all of them.
The other way we're
Unless you really, really don't understand this way, then you can pick one of the other ones.
So like tiles?
They take longer time to do. Okay. I want you to look here. So, what are your first term in each bracket? What's the first term in this bracket? A, right? And what's the first term in this bracket?
C.
C.
Then that?
4.
What's that?
4.
Whatever.
First, outer, inner, last.
I remember this stuff. Sorry to interrupt. When you get a chance, come on down and see me. No hurry.
Okay.
Nothing bad or anything.
Alright. So, you're going to have to multiply the first by the first. Okay? So, first times the first. Okay? So this gives you the F, the first.
No matter what
That's right. Okay? Then we have the outer. Outer, your 2 outer letters. Okay? So your outer letters. So you have to multiply this times this. okay? Then your inner, which is this times this. And then your last terms, which is this times this. So this is where they get the FOIL from, FOIL. Okay? Just remember that you have to multiply this term by both of these terms, and then this term by both of these.
Show it.
And then show. Basically, you're going to end up with 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to collect the like terms. Okay? Let's try this one. Let's try this once again. Okay, I'm going to write it here so I can just draw the arrows. Okay, what do I multiply first? 5x times x, which is 5x squared. Good. So I multiplied this by this. What do I multiply second? 5 times negative 3, right? So it's 5x times negative 3. So what does that give me? Negative 15 x. The letters are very important, okay? So this times this. Good. So I'm done with the first one. The first one I multiplied it by both of these terms. You see that? Okay. Now I'm gonna have to take the second one. What's negative 2 times x? Negative 2x. Okay? Then that negative 2 times the last.
Positive 6.
Positive 6. Make sense?
No.
Okay? Now what are my like terms?
15x.
Negative 15x minus 2x. So what does that give me?
Negative
17.
X.
X. So that's going to be 5x squared minus 17x plus 6. Okay? Now, what I want you guys to do before I let you go, when I write it this way, what does that mean?
Oh, I
You
know.
can't simplify the brackets. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking bad math. I can't simplify the brackets.
Isn't it like,
It's
it's
extended.
it's a clone, isn't it?
It's a clone, exactly. So when it says squared, that means it's the same thing twice
It's extended.
Because of the square?
because of the square. So instead of writing a square, I can write this twice.
So that's what you have to do to those one individual and then do the
Yes,
format?
and then do the foil, right? And then do the foil. Okay? You need to get used to me saying foil, right? Is basically doing the first outer inner last. Okay? Alright, so I'm gonna get you guys to do these 3, and I'm gonna come and check your answers after. If you're